All right, hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of VENU's Weekly Cricket Catch Up. What Fizan with me as per usual. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Better than you. You and old ladies and crashing cars and all sorts. So I'm good. I'm good. It's been a pretty.
It's been an eventful day.
It's been an eventful day for Venny. Yeah, so that's why for anyone tuning in, I guess the timings kept on getting changed just because we weren't sure when we were to do it. So
basically, an old lady crashed into a couple of cars outside my house, and I had to.
A couple of cars. There wasn't even one.
Yeah, she crashed into the back of one car, and she went flying in the air, landed, and then kind of went into my neighbour's car, and they're not in at the moment. So yeah, I made sure she was all right. Ambulance pulled up outside my house.
Wait! Did you just say she went flying out the car?
No, she didn't go flying out the car.
You made it sound like she hit the back of the car and went flying out the windshield.
If she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, but maybe. That's why you wear seatbelts, ladies and kids. Mate, that saved it. And I mean, she was having pain in her chest because this from the seatbelt. But yeah, the seatbelt saved her life there, probably. Well, I don't know. But yeah, and she ended up using my toilet, which was fantastic.
Wait, so she smashed into the back of the car, and what happened to the other one?
So basically, there's three couple of cars, three cars like parked up in a row. And then she went into the back of the first one, went flying a bit, and landed, and then went into the other car.
Well, so were her front wheels off the in the air?
Apparently, yeah. I heard a loud bang.
How quickly was she going? Bloody hell!
I don't know. And she's 92 as well. And this is why you got to be careful with these. The old, no offense, but older drivers, you got to watch out. You got to be careful with. But her airbag didn't work. You know that?
They didn't work.
Yeah, it's an old car, like an old Toyota. And then I made sure she was all right, and she was a bit of shock, but I made sure she was talking. But whereas the lady that saw it all happen, because she was at the junction, because I'm at the junction, so she was saw it, talked to police, and I told her she could park in my driveway. She parked in my driveway, and ambulance came, police came, and the police officer said, "Can she use your toilet now?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, what? Go on."
And they escorted her to prison. No, I'm joking. But yeah, well, at least she's okay.
Yeah,
we've got a couple of comments in.
Great cricket discussion, guys. This is we're talking about car crashes, and didn't India have quite a car crash in second ODI?
Yeah, they did. They did.
It was Ben Stokes doing all the crashing, wasn't it?
Yeah, let's touch on that in a bit, actually, because I think that's quite a big discussion, actually. I think that's a really good point. There's a comment here, Venu. What do you think of this?
Getting surgery on Monday. Yeah, I just think hopefully he recovers from it. I'm not sure I think it's not related to the elbow injury. I haven't read up too much on it, but it's a shame because I hope.
It says here, England fast bowler Jofra Archer will have surgery on his right hand after cutting himself while cleaning at his home in January. The injury was managed by England during the side's Test and T20 series in India, but it now requires further treatment. So he'd actually done it in January. So he cut himself. That's interesting.
It must be or something.
Yeah, it must be his left hand, but they haven't. Yeah, it says here the injury was about. It says he was ruled out because of a problem with his right elbow, which deteriorated during the 2-month tour. He struggled since with an elbow injury since 2019. Hold on. So it says love the segue.
What's that? Oh, is that how you pronounce it?
No, segue is Ashton, you pronounce that. You have absolutely butchered that.
It's a knowledge
Segue is Segway. Come on, Ashton, get it right. But he says it is related to the elbow injury. Right?
Really?
No, wait, hold on. He said here hand. It's related to the hand injury.
Yeah. But I'm not sure how the hand and the elbow are related, but
I don't think he is related.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I just think he's hopefully. I just hope the elbow injury is not one of those. I do think bowlers like Freddie Flintoff always had injuries that he had to deal with, especially with his knees. And I think Jofra Archer is his elbow. And do you think Fazana part of it is due to the fact he bowls so quick and so much force goes through the elbow? Do you think that's partly due to it, or it's just something that he's always had, genetic maybe, or?
It can be genetic. If he's had niggles in the past, I think with him, he has quite a fluid action. It's not too it's not so much strain, I would say, on like his joints or his body as someone like a good example. Someone who does is like Bumrah, because it's very unorthodox and he does have strain on his body, which is why he's had injuries. But I think Jofra Archer, I think the main reason for his injuries is just bowling a lot, as you said, and bowling fast. But it's actually just he had a niggle which wasn't particularly bad. And then now what they've done is they've just kept on continuing to bowl with him. He was also cut his hand, it looks like, as well. And he's basically been in the war and he's just continued. And I think maybe he needs to have some time off because I'm assuming he's going to be really integral to England's plans for the T20 World Cup later this year. I mean, they'll need him to be fit. So they need him to recover. That elbow injury, like whilst he's getting his hand sorted out, he may as well get his elbow sorted out at the same time. Let's get it all done in one go. If he's out for 3-4 months, who cares? I mean, people who watch the IPL might be really disappointed because he might miss all of it. He's already missing the first half because he's going to have elbow injury. I don't know how much the hand injury will affect him playing, but yeah, if I was England, if I was Jofra Archer, I'd be like, look, just get it all sorted out now so it doesn't have any implications like later down in the year.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet when it comes to the Ashes in Australia. And you know how much England talk about winning the Ashes. They've been talking about that since the last year. All about the Ashes, and it would be a shame if Archer misses that series because England, have they ever had a fast bowler like Archer down in Australia? No, they haven't, and I think he'd be such a weapon down under, which would be really good.
I mean, it'll be interesting, won't it, to see him in Australia, because as you said, I guess they've had Mark Wood. He's now matured a little bit, but Jofra Archer. I mean, if you have Jofra Archer and Mark Wood in Australia, I mean, I'm not going to get ahead of myself and say they're going to completely destroy and blitz Australia, but I mean, look, they have the attributes to do well there. Let's just put it that way.
Do you mind my mum's just come? Do you mind if I speak to her and tell her what happened?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'll be back. So you can keep going.
Whilst VENU is gone, just quickly on Jofra Archer, whilst he just pops away, I think the Australia scenario is quite interesting because on bouncier tracks, and he's someone who already seems to get that extra bounce and carry. If he can adjust his line and length there, it'll be good. I'm looking at it though from a short-term point of view as well. When is the Ashes? Because it's in the summer, right? No, is it? Hold on. When's the Ashes this year? Because it's in Australia. The back end is after the T20 World Cup, I think, I think so, if I'm not mistaken. It will be that. I mean, they might have to move it back because of COVID, but I'm hoping not. Let's have a look. Oh, here you go. 22nd of November to the 14th of January. Flipping heck, that's a long tour. That is really long. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. He is slotting in for VENU. What's VENU?
I'm slotting in for VENU for a little while. I thought, why not? I saw you here talking about Jofra Archer and the Ashes, and I thought I'd come in, give you some company for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah. What do you think of the Archer injury?
Oh, that's a huge blow. It's a huge blow to England. And I'm absolutely surprised because the thing is, I didn't know he was going to get surgery. I thought he was just going to be away and then he just needs to recover. But there's a couple of places. One is talking about the hand injury. One is talking about the elbow injury. So I don't know which one it actually is now that.
So
we
on
talked about.
BBC, it says he'll have surgery on his right hand after cutting himself. And then in addition to that, I think the elbow injury. So he says he's had a further injection for his long-standing elbow injury, apparently. So that's BBC. I don't know how correct it is, but
BBC is usually more correct than not. So fair enough. In that case, that's very good news for Jofra Archer fans because the elbow is a very important part of bowling quick. And if he was to get injured, in the sense that if he was getting surgery, then we'd see issues. You could think of countless bowlers who've lost their pace, lost their accuracy after getting so many injuries, especially on their arms and shoulders and stuff. So it's good. I'm glad that it's not his elbow that's messed up, but very, very interesting news. Ashes, you were talking about Mark Wood and Jofra Archer, going to Australia. I don't know how effective. Yes, they'll be very effective based on, because they're quick. Would you play Mark Wood in Test cricket, though? Would you not go in with Archer, Wokes, Anderson, and Broad?
no, not in Australia. I think Mark Wood has played. When they have rotated Broad and Anderson, they've then chucked in Wood. On occasion. I think on those tracks in Australia, he would be really good. So I would assume that I'll go Wood and Archer. But the only issue is that I think they would need someone like a Wokes to pick up the slack in terms of overs because those guys will want to bowl short spells.
I was watching an interview with Kevin Peterson, and he was saying what me and you were saying a couple of months ago about Jofra Archer and how Jofra Archer should be used by England in Test cricket, and maybe even Mark Wood if Mark Wood plays. You have 3 to 4 over bursts where they're given a chance to come and shine, basically. So that'll be interesting for England if they are going to use the rotational policy as they do, But in terms of any other news, I think that segue from what VENU said was amazing. I loved it. It was I didn't expect it. And just to clarify, I spelled it correctly, Fazan. Just to clarify.
I googled actually. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I didn't either. I googled it as well. I think VENU is back, so I will let VENU take back the reins. Thank you for having me.
No worries.
Have fun, and I'll be watching in the other way. Thank you very much. See you later.
See you later. Cool. VENU's back. Had a little bit of a substitution there, and
yeah, I'm not sure if it's a better substitution or not, but good on Ashton to come on and substitute. So what are you talking about?
We just really talked about the Archer injury and also Wood and Archer in Australia. So we've still got lots of topics to get through. So I'll leave it up to you.
Let's go. I think it's on. We started a better system this week where we created a WhatsApp group and we put like a little talking point throughout the week, and it's a lot better. Whereas before, I had to like lastminute.com go through all the cricket news. So this is a lot better. It's been a lot more relaxed for sure, and it's been nice actually. I've enjoyed it. So let's talk about it was good to see a Test match on Sri Lanka West Indies, and I was very impressed by the Sri Lankan performance. Nissanka getting his debut, getting 100 in his debut in the second innings, fantastic knock. Dickwella come good, Tiramani coming good, and Lakmal getting a fifer in the first innings. However, I think maybe the pitch maybe became more of a road near the end, and the West Indies did well to get the draw. Maybe should Sri Lanka have declared earlier? I don't know, and I just think it was Sri Lanka's best Test match of 2021, and day 4 was the best day for a long while, I think. Although they did have good days against England, but they also had bad days against England. So yeah, it was a really, really nice Test match to watch. And also, I was saying this to Fazan and everyone else in the chat, like it's such a nice time to have a Test match on. Like I could come back from work and for 2-3 hours in the evening, just have it on. It's just chill. Like it's great. And I'm really glad to hear that England are touring West Indies later on next year. That'd be great. I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, I think it was a really good Test match. What do you think, Fazan?
Yeah, I mean that would be fantastic, that tour. And I'm going to be really salty like Cash was, even though Cash isn't even a Pakistan supporter, and say, will they do the same for Pakistan? We'll see. There's still
Probably
time,
not.
which will be terrible. I was thinking of series names, because you know that they've the series will be called the Sir Vivian Richards and Ian Botham Trophy or series. That's what the series is going to be called now going
Yeah.
forward between England and West Indies. So I was thinking, oh, okay, well, for Pakistan England, it could be called, I don't know, the Imran Khan Graham Gooch Trophy, or it could be called the Imran Khan David Gower Trophy, or something like that. Quite cool. I was thinking of, what would it be? Because I think someone like Wasim Akram is too soon. He's the generation after Imran Khan. So you'd have probably Imran Khan and someone like a David Gower, Graham Gooch, maybe someone like that. But anyway, yeah, the test match was really, really good. I watched large parts of it, to be honest with you, and kept up to date with it. And it was a really good watch. Went 5 days as well. Very kind of briefly to go on to it. As you said, Nasanka was unbelievable on debut. I mean, Sri Lanka got skittled really in the first innings, and it looked like going into the test match, I was thinking this could be a bloodbath in terms of West Indies. They just could run away with this because they're at home. They've got momentum going into the Test series. I wouldn't have betted against a 2-0 victory for West Indies, but Sri Lanka showed a very, very they just showed a lot of resilience, I think, and it was really heartwarming to see. They got bowled out for 169, and then West Indies put on an pretty good score of 271, got a lead of 102. But then really it was that second innings from Sri Lanka, which was the most impressive part and phase of the match for me. That 476 was just incredible. I mean, Tiramani got 70 in both innings, but he got 76. Ashada Fernando finally came good with the bat, got 91 at 3. He looked good. Danjay De Silva, we're both big fans of him. He looked good as well, 50 or 79. But really, it was Nasanka and Dickwella who just looked incredible. Put on a mammoth partnership of 279 runs, which is just unbelievable. And it was just incredible to see Nasanka with 103 and Dickwella with 96, and they just propelled Sri Lanka to this total that, you know what, could they have declared earlier, as you said, VENU? Maybe. But I didn't think it was such a bad move to kind of just bat the overs. I think they could have been slightly more aggressive towards the end, but their tail didn't wag. And I think we know that because in the first innings it didn't, and in this one it didn't.
Yeah.
A total of only like 20 runs from 8, 9, 10, 11. Or 9, 10, 11, sorry. I think from Lucknell downwards, you don't really have much batting. So I think they're just thinking they can swing and let's see what they can do. Look, I mean, the one thing that was disappointing for me was day 5, I think, could have been a roller coaster day, as most of the test match was. However, I felt that both teams, especially Sri Lanka, were a bit passive in that 5th day. I mean, they had a lead of 375. And I know that West Indies chased 379 against Bangladesh in Bangladesh, but still, I think Sri Lanka should have backed themselves. But instead, they were very passive with the field settings. They weren't really defensive or attacking. And for me, I would have said, look, you just got to go for it. And especially when I think it was Carl Mayers and Nkrumah Bonner put on a fantastic partnership of 105, I think it was. When those two were in and started to get in, Sri Lanka should have just gone straight away. You know what? We're going to put men around the bat, and we're going to be as aggressive as possible. And you're going to have to really earn your runs. But instead, there were some gaps in the field. They kind of were able to nurdle it around for some singles. And the game went into this passive stage where West Indies Craig Brathwaite gritted out at the start, 23 off 124, a strike rate of 18. Yes, Luckmal was bowling well the new ball, as he has done throughout the whole test match. So was Vishwa Fernando as well. But then after the seeing off the new ball, when those two were in, I reckon they could have gone for the win. But they didn't. They kind of just went along and just thought, what will be, will be. But, for me, to kind of end the day with 6 wickets in hand tells me that they didn't quite go for the jugular.
Yeah.
And I think that was slightly disappointing from the West Indies point of view as well, because they've chased a score similar very recently, and it was away from home. But maybe, I don't know what you think, Venu, is that it could have been a mentality of they're at home and they don't want to look silly trying to chase that total and they lose. So I think it was more a case of they didn't want to lose rather than they really wanted to win, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
I
the
agree
draw
with you.
was almost like the perfect option.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like Bonner and Myers went a striker under 50, and Jermaine Blackwood was 4 of 29 balls. Yeah, I think it does. I think they could have gone for the win there. However, it's the first match of a Test match. I know their run rate was 2.36, which is not the best run rate.
Yeah.
It was quite, and Bonner did get a good century, but
He did. He batted really well.
He batted really well. So,
Although
I think,
what I would say is that his first 50 venue was very streaky.
Was
his
it?
First 50, yeah. The up to 50, he looked very streaky, but then after that, he kind of came to his own. And look, he's really inexperienced. His third Test match as well. So to get 100 was extremely impressive, and Carl Mayers looked good as well. So yeah.
But it's just annoying because if it was it's only a 2-match series. So if West Indies went for the win, I think they would have put more likely to lost that. So their mentality was, let's get the draw and let's bank on winning the second Test match. Whereas it was a 3-match series, they could have risked not going for the win, and losing as a result because they're more attacking, and they could come back and win 2-1. But it's just annoying that it's only a 2-match series, and this is our point where we think all Test match series should be a minimum of 3 matches.
Yeah, I think they should. I think maybe not. I think they just should all be 3 probably.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think it's interesting though, because in a way, I guess it's good, Venue, because so the second Test match, it's like a winner takes all, isn't it? Which is quite nice.
Correct.
The only issue is, imagine if that's a draw, it'll be a 0-0 series. I wonder if that's ever happened in history, where there hasn't been a single win in a Test series.
There must have been a 0-0 series.
But it's strange, isn't it? Imagine you're just like, oh, do you remember that series, the 0-0 series? You're like, what? Like, it just sounds so silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really good competitive Test match, though. I have to say.
I agree, and it was really good to when Sri Lanka didn't get, I think the first innings wasn't the best, but the third innings was great. Sri Lanka evolved, and it was nice to see. And
you know what? They really gritted in, did Sri Lanka, and they flipped it on its head. And I was so impressed, especially Tiramanu, who hasn't played a single match on the tour. Yeah. They hit back-to-back 70s. He's come in, and I was saying to you, where's Kusal Pereira? But to be fair, he's done a really good job, so it's hard. It's actually Karunaratne who struggled. But it's interesting because I said it's a competitive match. I reckon, for example, the England-India tour, those 2 teams are higher level, but we've only seen probably 1 competitive match. When I say competitive, I mean a match where it has been one-sided. This was a competitive match. New Zealand, Bangladesh, that series, they blew away Bangladesh. That wasn't competitive.
Correct.
This has been the most competitive bit of cricket we've seen all week, I think, in terms of it going down to the wire or being close and being evenly matched. So that was, for me, was really good to see.
I agree. Yeah, good to see. And I think the next Test match begins sometime soon, isn't it? Let me have a look. It is the 20. I think is it tomorrow? Let me check.
It's the 29th, so it's on Monday.
Okay, starts on Monday, so I'll be tuning in for that. So yeah, that'll be really good to see. Let's move on to the India England series. So the ODI series has started, and the first ODI which happened on Tuesday or Monday, or I think it was Tuesday. I think India won quite convincingly, but the second ODI, it was a Stokes fireworks, wasn't it, Fazan? And Stokes coming good at number 3, and it's quite good. Going to be a debate whether Stokes will continue to bat 3 when Root comes back into the equation. But yeah, did you watch that Test match, Fazan? No, that ODI, the third one.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched pretty much all of it. So, I mean, India, I think at the start, and this is, I guess, a case of different philosophies. India are more kind of slightly more traditional, and in the first 10, it's more build a base, try not to lose a wicket, and then later on, for the last 10, they always motor. Like they'll go at 11, 12 even and over in that last 10. But there's a lot of emphasis on people having to score big in the last 10. So it's, even though it seems like a low risk strategy, in the end it almost comes across as high risk, because in that last 10 they're having to rely on those guys in the last 10, which is a little bit disappointing, I think, because the reason why it's disappointing is because India have got so much talent and skill that you'd expect, for example, Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan to go quicker than 4 and over in the first 10.
Correct.
Especially in the power play when you've got only two men out. Like, why would you not have, like, Rohit Sharma? Why is he not coming out and just saying, you know what, I'm going to go 100 strike rate and I'm going to take you on? And he actually, I think, tried to do it in this one. He was 25 or 25, but then got out. Shikhar Dhawan couldn't really do much. And when Kohli comes in, we know he's going to take a little bit of time and then he'll get going later on. But KL Rahul, I mean, just very briefly on the match, KL Rahul, 108 of 114. He has been in terrible form in the T20s, but you know what? He's come in here. They've repaid the faith in him because his average is like 47, I think, in ODIs, and he scored big in the first one with a 50-plus score. Here again, 100. He looked really good. Rishabh Pant, 77 off 40, 192 strike rate. He was basically like a slightly worse version than Ben Stokes in this match. If you imagine how well Ben Stokes played, that was Rishabh Pant, but just not quite as good. Rishabh Pant, because he obviously only got 77, but he looked really good. And him and Hardik Pandya and Krunal Pandya, they propelled him to 336. But again, it was a really flat deck. So some of the subscribers were saying when I was live streaming, like they could have got like 400 if they just gone hell for leather, but they don't seem to want to. Whereas England, Bairstow and Stokes, 124 and 99, and both went over 110 strike rate. Stokes 190 strike rate. I mean, it was just unbelievable. They put on 175 for that second wicket partnership. So
yeah,
it was just fireworks, man. And Ben Stokes, I felt so bad for him for not getting his 100. It was like, what? It was just such a good knock. To not get it was really disappointing. He looked so gutted as well.
Yeah, I know, but for winning cause, I reckon Stokes will take 99 in every day if they win the match. But do you think he's free long term, Fizan? And route at 4 potentially.
Yeah, Charles as well. Thanks for joining. We'll come to your question in a bit. Stokes and Root is an interesting one, VENU, because we had this discussion on the group, and I was of the opinion that why would you play Stokes at 3 when most likely Root's going to slot back in? So it could be a case of he could go down to 4 Stokes, but then why didn't they just play him at 4? Right, that was my thinking. Why not play Milan and Livingston? And I said even if he scores back-to-back hundreds, most likely they will slot Root back in there. But then also I had some people saying to me, well, it's probably a good experience for him to 3 and 4 is quite similar in ODI cricket anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted him to face as many balls as possible and kind of have as big a chance as possible. So maybe that was the case as well. So then I can kind of see the flip side. But I personally would go Bairstow, Roy, and then I'd go Root and then Stokes, I think. I don't think Butler's a 4. I mean, he can float, right? So if you're going really well, then I guess you can move him up. But look, Stokes showed, and this is going to sound really controversial, but I think Stokes is a better ODI batsman than Butler. And that could sound controversial, but in terms of skill set wise, and the gears that he can go through, he can bat at an 80 strike rate, or he can bat in this one, like we saw, 190 strike rate. And I think he's got those gears at 4. So and then Butler can have whatever 5, 6, etc. But yeah, I mean, Root is one of England's best white ball and ODI players ever. Like, that's just how good he's been. So yeah, I think I'd go Root at 3 and Stokes at 4. And we've actually got a comment on that actually, Venu, just here.
Root. So from Jimmy231, thanks for coming onto the show. I root 3 in the ODIs, but I think that innings was a big shout for Stokes at 3 in the T20s. Milan looks out of sorts when he came in. That is another good suggestion from Jimmy231. I think, yeah, why not? Why not Stokes in for Milan at number 3 in the T20? However, Milan is currently the number 1 ranked batter in T20s, and he's had a good start. And just because he's had a bad few games, I don't think that's enough to warrant him to be dropped. Because that's out of order. And
it's his first time playing in India.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. I mean, like, how can you expect him to come in and just blast? Like, it's not easy to just come to India. And at the moment, India are one of the best sides in the world, as they just showed. They beat England in the T20 series. So you expect him to come in and just score runs just because he's the number 1 T20 player. That's not right. That's not going to happen. The fact is, he showed in the last T20.
Yeah.
It was a flatter track, to be fair. But even then, he showed in the last T20 he started to adapt. And he realised there's certain shots that he can't play in the subcontinent against the spinners. Like, he was playing reverse sweeps, and he realised, actually, I probably can't get away with playing that. So I've got to play the way that I know is going to work on these tracks. He's also going to play in the IPL, which normally I would say has no relevance. But because the T20 World Cup is in India, and he's playing as well for Kings 11 Punjab, if he plays well, he has to be in at 3. Unless he has a terrible IPL and they have terrible T20s before the World Cup, like, he's got to be a certain at 3 for me. Stokes, like, I don't mind Stokes at 4, for example, in T20s. But then where's Bairstow going to go, right? They've got an issue with an order, and I'm still of the opinion that Butler should be your finisher floater. But I mean, yeah, it could go either way.
It's interesting. Do you think Milan's the victim of his own success, in a way?
What do you mean? As in, he's done so well that people expect him to
Shah just said, just keep doing well. And he hasn't got, like, the household name like Stokes and Butler, Bairstow have. Every performance is kind of scrutinised. And if he has one bad series, he's kind of shelved. Whereas, he's had a fantastic last 12 months. So it's an interesting one. But I do think Milan still needs to be in the T20 side. You can't drop him.
Look, unless he has a couple of series where he's poor, then fine. But he had one series where he was poor, and then even then in the last one he performed. So I think if he doesn't perform the IPL and then he also doesn't perform in the next couple of series or 2 for England leading up to the World Cup, then you can look at it. But I think until then you've got to stick with him because, like, he's the number 1. And you're right, it's because he doesn't have the name. If his name was Ben Stokes, they'd stick with him to the hills.
You'd be getting sports personality of the year. That's what he'll get. But
it's unfair, right? It is unfair. Did you read this comment?
Oh, so Matt Chow. Hi, Chow. Nice to meet you again. Route at 3 is a certainty. Stokes got to adjust. So is that for the ODIs? I think Stokes at 4 is a good shout, and Morgan maybe at 5.
Do you think Morgan's done, by the way, in white ball? It's a controversial, but his form has not been great since 2019 World Cup in white ball stuff.
But his captaincy, he brings a lot for his captaincy.
But can he get can he get?
Who's going to captain?
Into the side.
Stokes the captain.
You got Stokes. You got Butler. Butler captain. I mean, even Moyne if he's in the side. They've got leaders in there.
The thing is, if Morgan does call it a day in T20s, then Hales comes into the equation. And actually, England will be a stronger team with Hales in there. Hales, Butler, Bairstow,
Roy,
mate, and Stokes. And that's a ridiculous team. But it's interesting. I think Morgan still needs to be in. I think Morgan has to. I think he'll call it a quits after 2023 World Cup.
I reckon if he doesn't perform well in this T20 World Cup, and England do quite badly, I reckon he might step down. He might just call it a day.
He might call it a day because there's other players knocking on the door. Yeah, that's a good point.
He just seems a bit not worn, but I just feel like this. Obviously, he took it over from 2015. Nearly been 6 years, and you think about it, it's been a long, hard 6 years because he's completely revolutionised the whole England white ball setup and side. Yeah. So that must take a toll at some point. So it's interesting to see whether you can continue it going. And we've got a couple of other comments here, Venu.
All right, yeah, let's go through them, mate. Rohit, Dhawan, Kohli, and Kale. As much as it looks like a dream top four, the problem is all of them are identical players on where they play. All like take the time before they explode. That is correct, Charles. I think Fizan made a really good point earlier in the show that India's approach to ODI cricket is very old-fashioned, and it's very, they just get slowly, and then build up at the end. And I think they need someone a bit more explosive, bit what Stokes did, and maybe put Rishabh Pant higher up the order. Maybe mix it up a bit, because you are right. They all play a very similar way. What do you think, Fizan, about that comment?
So I agree in a way, but I think actually, and Charles, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but some of these guys like Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul in T20s, they can explode pretty much from ball one. But it's the fact that the mentality going into ODIs, I think, from the whole Indian setup is to play this way. It's not that these players can't play that way. I think it's that they are being told not to, or they don't want to, if that makes sense. What I'm saying is that they've got the skill set to do it. Darwin, I think he's got a sweet spot in ODIs that he likes batting between a 90 to 100 strike rate, kind of as long as when he goes big anyway. Rohit Sharma can go at 100 strike rate easily in ODIs. We've seen it. Kohli, again, he can go at 100 strike rate. But fine, say Kohli's your anchor in kind of quotation marks, then KL Rahul, he can go big. And he went out over 100 strike rate for that 100 the other day. What I would say is that the first 10 overs for me is really important for India. So I reckon they go about 4.5 and over. If they can just put that up to around 5.5, 6, they're going to be laughing. They will be looking at 370, 380 rather than looking at 330, right? Because it will just make a huge, huge difference because they've got people like Rishabh Pant, Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya at the end to just smash it, right? So let's see.
Can I say something, Fizan?
Yeah.
The 2023 World Cup is going to be in India.
Yeah, but okay, I'm gonna say something. It's gonna be really controversial. I reckon if India play the same way they play right now, as if they employ exactly the same tactics that they employ now, I don't think they'll win that World Cup.
Why?
Because they've got the talent to win it, they've got the depth and strength, but the tactics employed, I don't think it'll take them all the way. I think it's too old-fashioned. I don't think they can get by with just talent alone, because that's what they'll be doing. I don't think it's the right way to play anymore. I think the game has moved on, and they are slightly behind. In T20s, they seem to be fine, but in ODIs, it's a very slight tweak because the last 10 overs they play the right way. The middle overs, for the most part, they do. It's that first 10, and it will hurt them because in India you'll have flat tracks like this. People like India, New Zealand, right? Who else? West Indies. If West Indies play on a flat track, they could get 350. They could easily get 350 on a flat track with a batting on it. But genuinely, like a lot of these teams, Australia as well, like I think it'll be tough. I think it'll be really tough for them. But if they tweak it slightly, I reckon they can do it, and they'll be favourites. Either way, they'll be favourites going into it. But I wouldn't back them if they employ these same tactics. I think England have the right formula, and that's why they've had success recently. Right? That's why they're the number one ODI side. And that first 10, they go at a very quick rate. And I'm not saying that India even should go at that quicker rate because obviously England have had a number of years to build up to that. But even if they increase it slightly, I reckon they will have a much better chance. But we'll see, I guess, won't we?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how India come out in the third ODI. And talk about the third ODI, the last ODI.
We've just got one more question. We've just got one more question here. Or two.
That one could be Ishan Kishan. Not probable, but in the near future, food for thought. I haven't seen Ishan Kishan play a lot.
He obviously scored a 50 on debut on the T20s, and then the second game he didn't get much. He got injured.
I do think it'd be a good idea to let some younger players be in the team. And I think that's only a good thing because 2023, still a couple of years away, 2.5 years away. So I don't know. I think it is something to think about because I think they need to change up their batting styles, and that's what works well for England. They've got very dynamic batting unit, I would say, for sure. Another comment, Achal. Keep them coming in, mate. So I would like to see Kohli back with more aggression, just because he's the captain. Truth is, he doesn't need to be the player who bats with 50 overs India anymore. And the thing is, that's a good point. I don't think he has to bat throughout the innings and everyone bats around him. They've got good enough players like Pant, Pandya coming later down the order who can be very destructive. And I think Kohli has to be more destructive because, I think that will help India get those bigger scores to set them up for the win. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Fizan?
Personally, I think the way he bats is okay. I think everyone needs to bat around him because he's their best player.
Correct.
It's just like Joe Root for England in ODIs, or Steve Smith in ODIs for Australia. Although, to be fair, Australia showed he's got Steve Smith recently against India. He went at like 160 strike rate in two of the ODIs and went at and scored 100 in both, which is ridiculous. Madness. I've never seen that. So he's shown that he's got different gears. Maybe Kohli, it's not a case of him batting aggressively consistently, but more can he show different gears, which I'm sure he's got. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that's the last one. We've got one on West Indies.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to very briefly touch upon it.
I think Achal kind of shares your point, Fizan. So I felt like the West Indies could have kind of gambled a bit with their fourth innings chase, especially with the situation they're at in T. Corn could have been promoted to just to test the waters.
I was actually going to suggest that. You know that. That's actually a really good point.
And another talking point, in terms of Rakeem Cornwall, he is, what's the way to put it? He is quite big
He's a large fellow.
He's a large fellow. And I just think, cricket has, over the last few years, has really pushed a fitness. And you've got to be a certain shape, certain size. And I think it's quite good to see that you could be quite large, and still be playing elite level cricket. And I think, and same with, is it Sharjeel in for Pakistan? I think there can be exceptions to the rule, and I think if you're a quality player, can hit the ball far, can bowl well, you still should make the team.
I think that's fine as long as you can field properly. That's the issue.
Can Rakeem field properly?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, to be fair, he dropped a catch, which was it was a really easy slip catch.
But that's nothing to do with his size, is it?
I don't know. Well, basically, so he was instead of crouching in the slip position, he was standing upright.
Yeah.
And the ball came and someone nicked it, and he basically just put his hand out and went past it. It was quite an easy catch. He was crouching. And again, I'm not saying that's because of his size. I don't know, but I think that's just poor technique. But Sharjeel Khan, I can tell you, is not a particularly good fielder, so he needs to work on that. And I think nowadays we see that fielding is very important. I don't think it's a be all and end all. I think we've had this discussion, VENU, but I think there needs to be a certain level of fitness, maybe that needs to be hit. And this might sound harsh, but if you're a professional sports person, unless you've got, which again some of these players may have, you might have a condition which makes it really hard, like you've got really slow metabolism. If you're that big, then that's fine. Then you've got to pass the fitness test. And if not, then obviously you need to work on your fitness. Fitness doesn't necessarily mean get slimmer. It just means getting fitter, which doesn't always equate to losing weight or whatever else it might be. But I think you've got to be good in the field. And if you're not good in the field or a liability, then nowadays it's just frowned upon. So that's the only thing I'd say. And again, that's not saying that that's the case for Rakeem Cornwall or anyone else. I'm just saying that I think that's quite important nowadays, I personally think.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Good point for some. In terms of
well, actually, we've got a thing on this. You were saying
Inza used to be genius by issues of weight. As a player, you got to focus on the skills you got and value you bring, rather than worry about the God-given uncontrollables. Yeah, I think if you can hit the ball well, I don't see why not. And I don't know. I think it's an interesting talking point. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. If it's so, Charles saying here about the God-given uncontrollables. So I think Inzamam, though, remember, Charles, a different generation. But to be fair, if you look at him in the '92 World Cup when Pakistan won it, he was in that side. People forget he was really skinny. He was really skinny. He put on a lot of weight after that '92 World Cup. And I don't know whether it's because he was just celebrating too much and what else, and eating too many rotis and curries, but it might just be a case of his metabolism slowed down in general, and he had issues.
Or just
Some people have that medical issues, right, with weight. It could be a side effect from medication. It could also be a case of like they genuinely struggle with it massively, right? And it's not a case of like lack of discipline. There's some players that have lack of discipline that I know of in the past. Umar Akmal's one for Pakistan. He just gets chubby for no reason because he just is a kind of excessive personality. But yeah, Inzamam was an unbelievable player. So. But again, he wasn't always that weight. He got bigger and bigger as time went on. So I don't know his whole story, but that was a different generation, and you could hide him in the field.
That's
He would
true.
hide himself in the field.
Whereas nowadays, can you hide players in the field nowadays? I don't
Not
think
really,
you can.
because you manipulate the fields and people can play 360 shots. So
Yeah.
if you're a fine leg, someone will they'll know and they'll play paddles straight to you, and they'll know this guy's a liability, so we can get 4 runs here, hit either side of him. That's the thing, right?
Point. It has become 360. You can't just chuck them at fine leg or third man. You are right, Fazan. Good point. That's for sure. Just a few more talking points on the India-England series, the third ODI. But Tom Curran has been slapped around. And do you think Shakib Mahmood? I think he does. I'd like to see Shakib in there, to be honest. What do you think, Fazan?
So I was actually told, so there's a mistake on my part, that he was in the squad, but he's now gone home to play for Lancashire.
Oh no.
But I would like to see him in the side for ODIs going forward.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is I don't think he'd get into the side if everyone's fit, because they've got Archer, Wokes who would open up. Then you've got
Wood,
and you've got Stokes. That's your 4. I don't think Tom Curran and Sam Curran get into that. I reckon it's Stokes and Wood. That's your 4 seamers.
I mean,
Then Moyne and Rashid. And that's your 6. And then if you've got Root there, Root can bowl a bit of off spin as well. And especially as the World Cup's going to be in India.
they've got plenty. So you think Moeen and Rashid will be in the first team, along with Root? There's some free-handed off spinners.
What I'd say is that...
Rashid.
What I'd say is that I think Rashid will be that... I have a bad feeling I could be wrong, but this is in 2 years' time. I reckon Moyne might not be in there, and I reckon might be a slot available because he'll be 35 by that time. Who knows? But if he's not, I'd like Sarkin Mahmood to get a chance.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Now, another talking point from that was Johnny Bairstow had a fantastic knock of 100, and he's obviously not a test player. Although he like to think so, that's for sure. But a white ball player, he's probably the first player on the team sheet potentially. And do you think he should be opening the T20? T20s? I don't know. Maybe have Bairstow Roy or Bairstow Butler, or maybe Hales and Bairstow. You don't know. I think, but Bairstow, he's a very explosive player. I think, why not? I think he's a bit weighted down there, I think.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think this the 2 innings that he's just played in these 2 ODIs shows that he should be opening. And I know it's a different format, but he's shown it in T20s he can do the same thing. So I think as much as he is infuriating as it seems to be as an individual, the one thing that you can't hold against him is his ability in white ball cricket. And his ability in white ball cricket is very underrated. The guy is very, very good. Let's see. Let's see what happens. I reckon it's a case of, you know what? Why wouldn't you have him open? He was opening with Roy in the T20s and they're doing a good job. And they just thought, why not experiment with Butler? And you're like, what? But he was performing well. So I do feel bad for him. They just shunted him down to number 4 when he was already doing well. And it just, to me, it was like, why have you done that? And it's like special treatment. And it's like what we said, Venu. Unfortunately, and I think it's the case, even when we've talked about Moy and other players, but I reckon even with some of the other players, like your Bairstows and stuff, like, let's be honest, who gets special treatment for England? And people say they're the best players, but what, Butler, Stokes, right? These types of players that get special treatment. Stokes is a match winner. So I think, fine, you've got to put him around there. Butler as well is a match winner, but if you look at the I guess the configuration of the England team, who's the best? Actually, I'll ask you, Vanny. Who do you think is the best finisher in white ball cricket for England?
Butler.
Okay, so if he's the best finisher, would you open with him in T20s?
No.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. And I know people have said, like, oh, he's got a good average opening and stuff, but the thing is, he's the best finisher. So if you want to put together a team that's going to win you matches and has the best kind of makeup, then he has to be your finisher because no one else can do it, unfortunately, as well as him. That's just the fact of the matter. And he can float. That doesn't necessarily mean he needs to be down at 6. He could come in at 3 or 4. If there's 5 overs left in a T20 or 8 overs left, you might just say, chuck him in there at 3. Because actually, we've batted that long. Put him in there, and he can be destructive. But that's what I would do, and because Bairstow, I think, is unlike Butler, which sounds crazy. Opening up, I think he in T20s isn't scared to just start from ball 1, whereas I think Butler is. I think Butler has more value on his wicket for the most part. Opening, I don't think he's as destructive opening as he is at the end. He's still very good opening, no doubt about it. But someone as talented as him, I think, should be finishing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you got a point, Fizan, that's for sure. I'm sure this debate will continue over the next coming months, that's for sure. And the lead up to the World Cup, that's 100%. England haven't really finalised their T20 team. But one team that looks like they are looking good or have more or less finalised their team is New Zealand after, they've been very strong for Bangladesh, especially Devon Conway. He had a blistering 100 against Bangladesh. Did you watch any of that, Fizan?
Yeah, I watched some of it. So it was an ODI series between New Zealand and Bangladesh. And I mean, Devon Conway, my man, just my boy, alongside Wanindu Hasaranga. Two brilliant finds, I mean, for both countries. And Devon Conway, I said to you that I think he's an all-format player, and he'd only got a chance in the T20s. But now New Zealand will have a headache, but a good headache. Because he's come in because Williamson and Taylor were unavailable. He's come in at 3, and he scored 126 in the third ODI. And I think he scored 70 odd, was it? In the other one? Hold on 1 second. There were 3. He scored, 126 in one, which we've already gone over. What was the one before that? And he also scored 72 in the second one. I think in the first one, I don't think he scored anything, if I'm correct. What we're talking about, he did. Yeah, anyway, he just scored a huge amount of runs. The guy is just a beast. And I'm so happy for him because I just think he's such a good player. I think he's so good. And New Zealand were just way, way too strong for Bangladesh, which was a bit disappointing in a way because I was just thinking, I thought this might be slightly closer than expected just because they were missing 2 big players, but it just wasn't to be, unfortunately. And these guys just got it in absolute no time. And Devon Conway, I think, has just been an absolute beast in this series, as has Martin Guptill's found form. So just for some figures, Venue, because you like a stat,
I do.
Devon Conway scored the most amount of runs in the ODI series, 225 runs.
Wow.
An average of 75. Tom Latham, 128. An average of 128 because I think he got knocked out, and he also scored 128 or 100 actually, I think, in one of them as well. And Mahmudullah is on 119. Top wicket takers, Venue. This is going to be a surprise. Who do you think was the top wicket taker in the series?
Shakib Al Hassan.
No. Think about it in the fact that New Zealand won 3-0, so it's a Kiwi. Who do you think it was?
Trent Bolt.
James Neesham. Jimmy Neesham.
Oh.
That's surprising, isn't it?
That is surprising.
7 wickets for him, yeah.
He's a good player as well. To be honest with you, I'm going to say it now. I think in New Zealand, I'm going to win a major tournament in the next 3 years. They'll win. There's 2
T20 World Cups and a ODI World Cup. Sure,
yeah.
I reckon as you said, I think they'll win one of them at least.
They could win 2 of them. I reckon they could win 2 of them. I'm saying it. Not all 3, no, but one of them is definitely on New Zealand.
I reckon I guess we'll see how they play in Indian conditions because that's the
That is
biggest
true.
thing, isn't it? But in Australia T20 World Cup,
Mate, they've got a chance, and I think they're probably one of the best white ball teams out there. When you put together T20 and ODI together, they look like force for good. That's for sure.
would you say, like people are saying, India and England are the best two white ball sides? What do you think? Do you think people are overlooking New Zealand?
Yeah, 100%.
I think there's an argument to be said that New Zealand are the best at the moment.
I agree. But Williams and Taylor were not even playing that series, and
They
they
weren't
won.
even playing. And they just brought in Devon Conway, and he was a top scorer. Like ridiculous. Like
You've got. Yeah. So I think that's all the talking points is on. I think that's everything really. I think we've made a good extensive coverage there of the week, and I'm really looking forward to another week of cricket. In terms of, let's finish off the show and with our weekly cricket awards. First up, star of the week, maybe Devon Conway, potentially.
Devon Conway's really good. Nasanka, Bonner
on debut. Bonner.
Yeah, I mean Luckmore got a 5 as well. Kemal Roach got 6 wickets in that Test match. I reckon it has to be Nasanka. 100 on debut. I thought I was really, really impressed by him. I really was.
I'm not going to argue with you there because Sri Lankan, and I think it's the first time probably on our show that we've had a Sri Lankan as the.
Oh, actually, is it?
As the weekly cricket? Actually, maybe. Yeah, probably. Unless
I think he is.
Yeah, I think so. Unless we had
Winindu.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think we have.
Emwood Lindia. Might put Emwood Lindia,
Actually, yeah, we might have. Yeah,
we might have done. So, so I'm going to give it to Nisanka. We should collate all the awards and see.
We should actually, yeah. Well, if you want, I can send you all the links, and you can watch each catch up.
No, I'm not doing that. All right, okay. Who's the player that needs to do the homework? Indian player, potentially England player, a Bangladeshi player. I reckon that's team that needs to do the homework. Player, I'm not sure.
Players, it's difficult because. I mean, obviously, the West Indies Sri Lanka match was pretty tight contested. Craig Brathwaite was a bit disappointing, but it's a bit harsh because I think the second innings he ate up deliveries, which I guess is a good thing. So I think that's a bit harsh to give it to him. Raheem Cornwall, but then he got some runs. I was going to say with a ball, but he got runs, to be fair to him.
Tom Curran?
And Tom Curran. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a good shout. Tom Curran. It has to be Tom Curran. You know what? We love Tom Curran because he's a Surrey player, but I don't think he's an England player.
All right.
I think he's on borrowed time in the white ball side, unfortunately.
Pack your things and go to South Africa and try and play for them. No, don't do that. I think you're a quality player and keep playing for Surrey, mate. Team of the week. New Zealand has to be.
New Zealand, man, has to be. They just blitzed Bangladesh. See, Afghanistan, to be fair, they clean swept Zimbabwe. I think that third T20 was this week. Mm-hmm. They did really well, so they're in with a shout as well. But New Zealand. I mean, they look so imperious. I can't wait to see how they do in the World Test final as well. I just can't wait to see how they do in the T20 World Cup. They look like such an exciting team. I just can't explain how good they look.
All right, yeah, okay. I'm looking for New Zealand, mate. The team to watch out for, that's for sure.
Such a bunch of nice guys as well. That's why I don't mind going on about them a lot as well.
I agree. They seem like the guys, you stop have a chat with on the street. You're like, you're right, mate. Yeah, how you doing? Whereas, like David Warner, you probably blank you if you walk past him.
David Warner's supposed to be quite nice. I don't know. I don't know the players personally. Apparently,
to be honest, I think the media portray players when they, in certain ways when they're not really true. But they're a good solid unit. New Zealand, that's for sure. In terms of team that needs to do the homework, I reckon it's Bangladesh. They've been completely destroyed in the ODI series.
Yeah, I think Tamim Iqbal, the captain, would agree with you. He said he was really disappointed with the performance from the series. He said apart from a glimpse in the second ODI, they were really poor by his standards, and he thought they'd perform a lot better and be competitive, but they weren't. So I think, yeah, it has to be Bangladesh.
Yeah, how about let's think about the moment of the week. Has to be Stokes' innings was literally they set up fireworks. No,
Ridiculous. I mean, Bairstow as well has been quality, to be fair.
Sanka's 100, Bairstow.
Sanka's a debut 100 is a great moment. Bonner's maiden test century as well. Really, really good. Carl Mayers getting 2 wickets in an over. Bit of a golden arm. His first 2 wickets in test match cricket. That was really cool. That was quite cool to see. What else?
I don't know.
Moment of the week. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, to be fair.
What would you pick, Fizal? I'll let you have the final call.
Yeah, I think I would go with. Let's go Ben Stokes 99. I think that was incredible.
Quality. And not getting 100 is also quite funny, to be honest. Achal just puts a comment here. Bangladesh have let themselves down for so long now. They have been the next big thing since forever. That is true. You know, they always show signs of they could be really good. Like in the World Cup, they have really shocking. They always do a shock up upset. But
they've got a solid team. You know that they've underperformed in this series, and I think I agree with the trial in the sense that it's hard though, I guess, with the funding, but they need to be doing better. And I think they didn't adjust to the pitches at all. And
that's true. Yeah,
you got. Well, let's see. There's a T20 series as well. Let's see if they can do better and maybe they adjust the conditions better. Let's maybe not pass judgment on them too early before the tour's over, but a disappointing start for sure.
Yeah. What do you think the funniest moment of the week? I reckon you would be a better position to answer this, Fizan.
So funniest moment. I can tell you my fail of the week.
Oh, fail of the week.
My fail of the week is kohli. So Owen Morgan coming in, and who is it? Prasid basically bowled a beauty and got someone out. Next ball, Morgan walks in and he bowls this fantastic delivery away from Morgan. Morgan nicks off, right? So it could have been 2 wickets in a row. Kohli goes down and it's almost like he's celebrating whilst he's about to catch it. And he's like shouting like whilst he's catching it, but he's so like over enthusiastic that he drops the catch, and then Morgan is like nowhere near his ground, so it's a chance for a run out. So then he throws the ball, completely misses the run out, like he's missing it by a mile. It was just like, it was comical. Virat Kohli is such an incredible player, but he does give you some comical moments at times, so I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, okay. So that goes to Virat Kohli. I'm sure he's happy about that, Fizan, isn't he?
No, he's not. Probably hates me. And fail of the week, I guess, would I guess that can be funniest moment. I think fail of the week, I don't know. There are a few. Oh, Butler. Butler dropped a lot of catches in that.
Did he?
Yeah, he got lucky. So they dropped Virat Kohli on 30-40. Rashid was off Rashid as well. He nicked behind, dropped it. And then he dropped another catch off Reece Topley off Hardik Pandya, which is a really easy one. Even you would have taken this VENU probably. It was up here. He could have gone 2 hands. He went 1 hand instead for some reason. Don't know. Don't even ask me why. Dropped it. And then he got cleaned up for 0 by a Yorker in the same match. So he was lucky they won. Let's say that.
All right. So that's... And what are we looking forward to this upcoming week? I'm really looking forward to the second and final test match between West Indies and Sri Lanka. The decider after the first test match was quite a convincing draw. I'm looking forward to that, Fizan, and looking forward to some late night showing. Well, late night for me. But,
I'm looking forward to India, England, obviously the deciding ODIs tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be good. I'm tuning into that, that's for sure. So
yeah, and I'm looking forward to the test match. I think that's going to be great. I think it's fantastic.
Definitely. Have you? ICC looking to revise soft signal protocol. What is that? I'm confused.
So I think they're going to revise the fact that there's not going to be any soft signal. So, for example, if it's a catch, the umpire won't give like a soft signal out or not out. It will just be like go up to third umpire and it's all up to third umpire basically.
What? But that's taking more power away from the on-field umpires.
But the reason I think why is because I think the on-field umpire normally guesses because it's just a catch, right? It's a split second, so maybe that's why.
Yeah,
For
but
example,
you should
there
go
was a
with
Carl
what the umpire
Jameson,
thinks.
but then the umpire could be wrong in this case. Though.
Yeah, but same with LBW.
The LBW is a bit different. I'll tell you why. Because I think LBW, it's right in front of them, but catches can be anywhere, right? And normally they can be
That's true.
quite far away
Yeah,
from
yeah.
them,
And they're quite
Or
low
like-
as well.
or like someone's hiding. Like if it's over the shoulder, they can't really see it. So like Carl Jameson, that was weird. That was actually a caught and bowled, and I thought that was out against Bangladesh. But anyway, it's interesting. My comments are, let's see how it goes.
I think you made a good point there, Fazan. Yeah, okay. I agree with that now.
What were you going to say? Sorry, you're going to say something else.
No, I think I think with catches you can't really run-outs as well. They're gonna surely run-outs they can give that's out.
Run-outs, I think if it's like blatantly out,
They'll give it. Okay, but the catches you're just unsure, aren't you? But why can't you trust the fielders nowadays? You can't, can you?
Because you can't trust the fielders. People want any edge they can get, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So Achel says, cricket is number one sport in Nepal, 29 million population. Wish they can make it big like Afghanistan did. It'd be good for the game, that's for sure. That's
agreed. Hopefully. Come on, Nepal. Let's see you in the 2027 ODI World Cup.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Any other comments, Fazan?
No, that's it. I think we're done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a shame. But I've really enjoyed this show, Fazan. Thanks for coming along, mate.
No problem. Thanks as always for having me.
No worries. And remember to like and subscribe to Fazan's channel, Quality Shot. And you can also watch other content such as tennis, boxing. And there's a big fight tonight, isn't there, Fazan? Do a plug about the boxing. Are you live streaming it?
Yeah, I'm live streaming it. Dylan White versus Alexander Povetkin, the rematch.
What time?
Repeat or revenge. So the card starts at 7 p.m. The main event will be at around 10:30. This is UK time. So I'll be covering that. Obviously, Dylan White got viciously knocked out by Alexander Povetkin in the first fight, so it would in a shock upset. So it's gonna be a rematch. So let's see what happens.
Such a shame.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Because if there's no COVID, I'm sure everyone will be around mine and be watching
Exactly. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of big ones out, so let's see.
Right,
we've got one last comment. Sorry, from
guys. Did you see news of South Wales 30 all out? No, I didn't.
No,
I heard about it.
That's crazy. What 30 all out?
Yeah, that's madness.
What
so things
happened?
going well for Australia, that's for sure. Australian cricket.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
That's village, man. That's village.
It is village. Yeah. So.
Oh, actually, and also, do you want to tell them what we might potentially be doing next week?
So next week, I'm on Easter holidays, and also because I'm a teacher and we get holidays. You may think teachers get too much holidays, but I think we deserve it. We're doing venues quick because we can now meet up. Two households can meet up outside, and starting from Monday. So Fizon and I are thinking of doing this show outside together in the same garden. How does that sound, everyone? I'm looking forward to it already.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can't guarantee. We need to figure out the logistic. Yeah, weather is the biggest thing, and then also logistically, can we do it? Because we're going to meet up anyway. So let's see if we can sort it out. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think that'd be fantastic. If we can do it in person. Yeah,
100%. And that's be our first show in person, wouldn't it? In terms of the cricket catch-up show. So so thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. So bye for now.